welcome to all of you. Et merci beaucoup, Madame la Consul Générale de France, Madame Nadia Fanton, d'être venue également. Nous vous remercions d'être présent ici avec Monsieur Renaud Ziegman, votre compatriote et critique d'art et historien, et moi francophone de naissance, presque. Donc, I would like to say welcome to all of you. We could have done this speech, this artist talk in French as well, because it's about the Parisian life, the life of Montmartre and Picasso in Paris, between a French art historian and critic, Renaud Ziegman, and myself. And I've had French culture and lived in France, and I've been a francophone almost all my life. Not since I was born, but since I was 6. But we're going to do it in English, with your permission, to touch a wider audience. Maybe in the future we'll do it also en français. Why not? We can organize it, I'm sure. So we welcome here Monsieur Renaud Ziegman, who is a good friend of mine and an important name in the Parisian intellectual milieu, in the French art circles. And I'm very happy and honored to have him here. Welcome. Mr. Ziegman is also working on a book about me. It's a book, it might be the only book about an artist we don't know. We have to see the opposite. Until we see the opposite, it might be the only book that traces the life and work of an artist between the ages of 2 until today, which is, I'm gonna turn 69 on Saturday, so almost when it comes out, it's gonna cover 2 to 70, something like that. Maybe 70, 71.
It's the first time for me.
Yeah. So anyway, it's an interesting book. So he's been working on this for a year and a half.
Yeah, almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the kind of work you do without deadline, because it's a life monography. I'm very honored to see all of you here. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope you had time to look at the show or to enjoy the show, and don't forget to look at the book as well. There is an article by Hasan Bülent Kahraman, followed by my writings. It's kind of a small book in 3 languages about young Picasso and how he opened his way to Cubism and modernism in the Parisian bohème of Montmartre. And talking about Montmartre, our main guest speaker was born in Montmartre and Paris. So maybe Pablo was your neighbor? Okay, so thank you all for coming. So with your permission, we're going to start. Thank you.
Okay. So, Valerie, this show is taking us there and then.
Yeah.
Although we're here and now. So how come did you thought of this contraction of like in time and upwards?
Well, have been working about old masters. This is one of the always favorite themes of major artists of working around history. Picasso also used to do that a lot. You know, he would do remakes about Goya or Delacroix or you know and many other artists or Velázquez. And I'm also like that. I like to do artworks that refer to the past, to art history, and it's been a part of my attitude since '89. But in a way, in the prostitute's room, which dates from 1981, which is 45 years ago. The prostitute's room, I consider it to be my first major work.
You have a lesson before we introduce the switch into the work that has been produced during or after Les Demoiselles started when? Because we're talking about a major painting of the history of art. So when is it? 89, 90. This is when I started making remakes around. I mean, your first encounter with the Demoiselles.
My first encounter with Picasso was when I was 8, 9 years old, and I was traveling around the world for my shows and everything. And of course, there was always this Picasso ghost around you. You know, like always everybody. Oh, you're doing art, so there's Picasso. You know, so you hear art and you hear Picasso and you hear Leonardo and I, as a showing, exhibiting artist around the world when I was 8, 9, 10, I was mainly interested in the toy shops of every country I went. I wanted to buy new little cars. When I went to have a show in every other country, my main interest was not touring all the museums. No. I was interested in having, seeing, for me, to understand if a country was advanced, that depended on the toy shops, how big they were. You know? So, but you kept hearing Picasso, and of course it attracted my attention. I kept looking since I had this bike. This bike is my bike when I was 8 to 11 years old, and when we moved to Istanbul, my parents had left it in Ankara. Probably they thought that if they brought it here, there's too much traffic in Istanbul, it might be dangerous for me and this and that. And I have a...
That's by the time when you considered it like a project.
Yes. When I was touring the world show.
The Wunderkind.
Yes.
It's a bit like Picasso. Picasso was a Wunderkind as well.
Yes, he was. You're right.
So that's very important that we lead the conversation into your relationship.
Okay.
You know, being going around the exhibition, we feel that we are part of one of your painting within one of Picasso's painting, and that there is a sort of a play between the two, as if you were pals, or as if you were part of the Banda Picasso. Yeah. Picasso's gang.
Right.
So as a Wunderkind, as a child with prodige, like Picasso, when his father realized one day that a drawing of one of his son's drawing was so perfect that he decided to offer him his brushes and his colors. And because having this child under his roof for this man was impossible to take his own art further. Although he stayed a teacher, I think. But the gesture, the decision of doing that, it resembles the way your own father, protected you from. I remember reading that whenever you had show 3 or 4, people were saying, "Hey, is that for sale? How much is that? I would buy it." And your father always interfered, saying, "No, this is not for sale." And I think there is a close relationship, father-like.
Yeah, actually, okay, I'm gonna.
That's important to start.
All right. Before I give the details on what last said, I'll finish this. We left that in we left that bike in Ankara, but I have a collector in Ankara who Bena yukarıda o bilardonun yanındaki fotoğrafı getirir misin? Bisikletle ilgili fotoğrafı. Bekle. I have a collector in Ankara. He was a great collector, and Ahmet Şahin, and many people in the art world might know him. And he has like almost like a hidden museum under his big building. And he said, "I found this picture of you and your father in a public auction sale. It's a photography." He showed me the photography, which I'm going to show you now. And I was shocked because it was the day my father offered me that bicycle. And I didn't have that in my collection of photos. And I remember very well that day. It was a weekday around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. He brought that to me. And I couldn't believe it that now I had a bike, and I was happy. And then you'll see the picture. Anyway, I learned how to ride a bike, having many scars on my knees. But he said, my collector said, half an hour later he said, then he brought this. He said, "Isn't this your bicycle?" I couldn't believe my eyes. It was coming back to me 40 years later. And I said, "Yes, this is my bike." Well, he found it in an antique shop, because in those days, these were not mass productions. These were brought to PX, American sales shops, like 1 or 2 a year. And it was an exception. Of course, I recognized my bike and everything, and I couldn't believe it. He gave me not just the photo, but the bike as well.
It's like your rosebud.
Yeah,
It's like a rosebud, you take the bike, you're going to a trip down memory lane.
Yes.
But it's as if memory before you started to...
This exhibition is like traveling in time.
That's right.
So this was the photo. This is the day he brought me the bike. And I don't know if you can feel, can you see it behind?
Yes, yes, we do.
Yeah, sure, you can pass it around. This is like an exhibition where you travel in time. I make jokes to people who come and see this exhibition. I say, you need to bring your passport, because you're going to 1907 France. You're gonna enter 1907 France. Madame Ponton, did you bring your passport with you? Or carte d'identité is enough for you, maybe, to enter this exhibition, because this is like coming to France.
We don't need it in 1906.
That's true. About sales, talking about sales, actually, the exhibition I had in London when I was 7 years old, they wanted to buy the drawings, etc. There was again big press interest.
Excitement about the child.
And I started crying. I said, I don't want to sell my paintings, you know. And then when I had a show in New York when I was 8, I loved dogs, and actually right now I also have an Irish setter among my dear animals, and I wanted to buy an Irish setter, which I bought years later. But anyway, I had other dogs in between. But I said, I want to buy this dog. They said, but it's very expensive. Dogs are very expensive. Then I said, no problem. Let's sell every painting, and let's sell every drawing. So this is how I started selling in New York in 1965.
Right.
Maybe in Picasso's case, he was a wunderkind,
Yeah.
but in the realities of the years when he was growing up in 85, 86, 1890, of course he didn't travel to have his shows. My chance was that in the reality of those days, although it was very hard to communicate, there was no telephone, there was no mobile phone, there was no fax, no email, nothing, but my father still could organize
Right.
those.
That's good you speak about those formative years because, like for Picasso, because at the time, now we're going to speak about his mother, so about your mother as well.
Yeah.
He changed his name from Ruiz to Picasso. He decided to change his father's name that he wrote it onto the artist name for Picasso.
Mm.
And as much as your relationship with your father was conditioned by as a form of protection, there's a form of creativity related to your mother being an architect.
Yeah.
So tell us about.
I started doing art using the materials of my mother. As you said, because she's an architect and she was also drawing and working a lot at home as well after the office hours.
Mm-hmm.
There was always pen, pencil, paper around, and my dear sister is here, so if you raise your hand so that people can see where you are. So I was using those bits of pieces of papers and pen to draw and everything. And when you have a kid who is 3, 4 doing things at home, then if he likes to draw, it's good because you can have peace and calm at home if he's busy drawing. So obviously, actually I was lucky because my parents encouraged my drawing. Always I was encouraged by my family, my parents, my sister. I was lucky in this context. But
there was many similarities with Picasso. Because as you can see, I'm trying to build this like in a clever way. You've been painting about the demoiselle, but that your life is like Picasso.
We have also other similarities, including the demoiselle.
Well, first, before the demoiselle, when you like Picasso, again, like Picasso, you traveled from Madrid to leave Madrid to Barcelona, and eventually he came to Paris.
Yes.
You left Istanbul for Paris, which is the connection point, to live for Berkeley. And Berkeley, you have lived the bohème, the American bohème in California,
yes,
as like Casso did in Montmartre. Tell us about that.
Well, you know,
different place, different time.
La Bande at Picasso is mainly his 3 best friends in those years when he did the Demoiselle and the preparation years for Demoiselle, when he was already in the Bateau Lavoir, was Guillaume Apollinaire, the erotic poet and writer, and other 2 writers, André Salmon and Marc Jacob. Later there was Jean Cocteau and later André Breton, who added to his surroundings, to his entourage. But mainly La Bande was those 3 names that kept being there together with his girlfriend that he lived together in those years, Fernande. But Fernande was first the girlfriend of another sculptor in the building. But Picasso managed to charm her and take her.
With difficulty.
Yes, with difficulty, of course.
Mention that.
And Picasso's always liked to be surrounded by his friends, and or he liked to go out to cabarets and coffee shops and everything. I also like to be in coffee shops. Many of my thick books 700 page, 800 page. Most of them were also written in coffee shops, you know, in coffee shops in Beyoğlu or coffee shops in Paris, or sometimes in, you know, Bebek coffee shop or Café de Flore, or Café Roma in Berkeley.
Yeah.
I like to work in loud environments. I like to work in places that are very crowded also, and
Till today, I wonder how.
you know,
I've seen him working.
I mean,
Terrible conditions.
that habit comes from the young artist who says, oh, I mean, if I stay at home, I might be missing very nice girls outside. Whereas if I'm working in a coffee shop, then it's fine. I'm controlling the situation. I'm controlling the situation so I can concentrate on the work. I don't need to say, I'm gonna go out.
You have no frustration.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, that's interesting you say that, because I realize now that the aspect of lives, the different aspects of life, going out, being socially amongst others, is as much as it is part of your work, that it feels that Picasso is the same.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, looking at Picasso, I mean, if I compare with other artists, I don't know, any other artist of this time, Kandinsky or Chagall.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Chagall is a bit different, actually, in a different case, but the biography, the work and life of the artist is so much within his work of Picasso.
Mm.
There's not a single painting you can think of without thinking about him.
Yeah.
Sometimes you look at a painting, you forget about the artist, you know it's by such or such.
Yeah.
I think therefore the paintings have built that mythology. Like the Demoiselle have built a sort of a mythology around what you're showing us. It's as if being involved in the back of his mind.
Yeah.
In a way.
I mean, many.
A little louder, please.
Yeah. Okay. And many artists have. Actually, I heard many times that my artwork reflects my life as well.
Yeah.
Not just the ones around the ladies, not just the erotic ones, not just the demoiselle ones, but I also do political shows about the '68 movement, or Atatürk, or something, a drama that touched me a lot in life, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. So all these things are part of my hinterland, in my background, in my mind, in my memory. So maybe exhibitions about my relation to women, girlfriends, but also historical events, as I said, the Turkish Revolution in 1960. The Atatürk's Independence War, '68 movement, Deniz Gezmiş.
It is it is like an art critic.
Or Kubilai.
An art critic would write. An art critic would write illusion of representation. You integrate reality in your work.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I do. I mean, you're right in the sense that, for instance, when you look at artists like Rothko, or in Turkey, Adnan Çoker, or there are many artists, or Ed Reinhardt, abstract artists, or abstract geometric artists, etc. They might live a very personal life that is very tumultuous, very excited, but it doesn't show in their work. Their work is something different, as if they were a dentist, or an engineer.
No, it's bad.
No, come on. No, I mean, I'm not saying that.
I know.
I'm saying that it has two different worlds.
Yeah. Okay.
No, in my case, as actually, I think it was Adnan Çoker who told me this Turkish artist that we lost like 5 years ago, I think. Was it 5 years? 4 years, 5 years? Anyway, I decided, he told me once, he said, your life is what you live. Your art is who you are and what you live. And he said, not very many artists are like that. And so, may they like or not what I'm doing, at least they know I'm sincere. This is really me. I'm not painting something other than my own ideas or my own beliefs, etc. So I felt this closeness with Picasso more and more after I moved to the States in 1981. Actually, my relation directly to the depiction of Demoiselle d'Avignon started in 89-90. But actually, when I did the prostitute's room in 81, it was as if one of those ladies had come out of the painting into a room. And actually, Öykü, is there a large photo of the prostitute's room here?
Yes.
Yes, there is. I asked her because she is the editor of this book, so it was a very hard to put together book. I thank you again. This is the prostitute's room, done in 81. This is broken mirrors on this side, and when you stand in front of the painting, you see your own reflection entering the prostitute's room. And it's a mix between Cubism and Expressionism. I consider it still my most important work, maybe together with This Has Been Done Before, maybe. Anyway, I don't want to get into
This is a figurative one.
Yeah, and the other one is...
But tell us about the relationship with the Demoiselle and the fact that the Demoiselle is a turning point in terms of the influence of original art as well. What's the link between? You have to explain to us what's going on between that revolution and yours.
In 1981, I wanted to. In 1980, I wanted to go to a new country where I knew nobody, where I knew no one, and I moved to the United States with only $800 in my pocket. And I started giving tennis lessons, $10 an hour. That's mostly how I survived, but I was quite happy with that situation because, again, I had my home. We had a survival kit of friends who watched each other and who kept each other alive, you know. And the point is, I looked a lot to young Picasso in those years. I looked again to Demoiselle d'Avignon without knowing why it attracted me so much and why it was a symbol of so many things that made me focus on it. And so I didn't, now years later I say that I took out one of the girls in the Demoiselle and turned it into this prostitute's room because, you see, when Picasso did Demoiselle d'Avignon, people thought that this was girls from the Avignon city in France. And many people thought that it's the ladies who lived in Avignon, and maybe Picasso had many girlfriends in the city of Avignon. But this was not the case. The case was that Picasso had big libido, and he was having steady girlfriends, daily girlfriends, but these were not enough to him, so he also went to bordellos. And in Barcelona, in Carre Avignon, there was this bordello where he went a lot. Some people claim that his first experience was there. I don't have the proof. It might be a legend, or it might be true. I leave it up to you. But anyway, that's why it's called Demoiselle d'Avignon. And after the painting was born, they couldn't name it easily. With your permission, I would like to talk about this birth of... Yeah, exactly. They first called it, when I say they, is La Bande à Picasso, those three writers and himself. They called it first the philosophical bordello, le bordel philosophique. Then they called it Les Filles d'Avignon. Then they called it Le Bordel d'Avignon. But the painting stayed undercover for 8-9 years. People went to see it, but it was always under some cotton curtain or whatever. Then people took it out to have a look at it, and they were shocked. They couldn't believe their eyes, and probably many of them said, please cover it again. We can never understand today in 2026 why in 1907 looking at a painting could be scary. Looking at a painting could be scandalous. Looking at a painting could be so overwhelming. We cannot understand this, because to understand this we must go out of anachronism. We must go back to 1907. This is what this exhibition is doing, taking you to 1907. But don't forget that the people in 1907, they were going to the Louvre, they were going to the Grand Palais, and they were going to all the salons in Paris. But in all these exhibitions and the thousands of paintings in the Louvre, where you could see religious paintings, classical paintings from past centuries, nothing looked like that. And of course that the invention of photography brought Impressionism in the middle of the 19th century. Impressionism got its name from Impression du soleil levant et le Havre by Monet. And
Voxel.
What?
Voxel, I think. Les impressionistes.
Yeah. And actually, Voxel gave to name to Cubism and Fauvism.
I know, he was a specialist.
Yeah. But anyway, these paintings always brought new dynamism to these dynamism to the scene. But when Picasso did that, everybody was so shocked, his close friends and the people around him, like he was in rivalry with Matisse, because Matisse was 10 years older, famous French artist Matisse, but he respected Picasso and Picasso respected Matisse. It was like a relation between, in tennis, Federer and Nadal, or today Djokovic and Alcaraz, somebody from the younger generation. Actually, there is more than 10 years between them. But anyway, Matisse, when he saw this painting, he said, he did this painting to make fun of me, nothing else. He did this just to make me angry. And Derain, his other friend, said, they're gonna find Picasso hanging himself behind his
But
painting.
if you tell us about the Matisse relationship, you should tell us also that it's because of a dinner at Gertrude Stein with Picasso and Matisse that Picasso discovered African art.
Yes, yeah.
And so when Matisse reacts the way you described, that is after whatever Picasso has done,
Yeah.
which is he has ignored.
Yeah.
That's why he was that mad, I think, maybe.
I mean, Matisse also looked at, North African art and
Sure.
Tunisian art,
Sure, but
etc. But
more on a decorative.
yeah, he did
sense.
more decorative things. He didn't do anything radical like Picasso. So when Gertrude Stein, whose portrait Picasso did after 90 séances, which means he posed 90 times.
90 meetings.
So I say that, this is a joke between us, but I say for nothing in the world, no money or other things, Picasso would have somebody pose for him 90 times. So I say there must be something fishy. She was not a very attractive looking woman, theoretically, but obviously she was very impressive and very eloquent, obviously, or very clever. I don't know, there must have been something. But 90 times she came and posed for Picasso, or he went to her house. I say there's a strange relation going in there. I leave it to history. But this is not normal. There must be something more than collector and artist. Anyway, at Gertrude Stein would bring in Paris, in their apartment where she lived with her brother Leo, Rue de Fleuris, around Montparnasse and Quartier Latin, around there.
Yeah.
And then she would organize dinners and parties and Saturday nights with artists, intellectuals, and collectors. And of course that it was a very Paris bourgeoisie and upper bohemian life that would kind of come together.
But very international.
Yeah, international. And this is around there in Rue de Rennes. This is where they bought these African masks and African little
Statues.
toy-like statues. And Picasso, he took them in a sense. What is this? He was like touched by it as if this was something diabolic or something fetishistic, something very impressively different, and like outer space, and something coming from a UFO, from another planet. This is how he looked at it. And then he went to the Trocadero Museum a lot and spent many hours and days there.
He discovered that masks and costumes and statues and tribal art, so-called tribal art, but as we call them, the original arts, extra-European arts, and especially African art. He realized the shape and power of the form being almost like exorcism.
Yeah.
That is to protect you from wrong or from bad or from evil. So he understood or got involved into the notion of that art is a sort of a protection against, and is almost like a Freudian sort of out of you, anything that you feel wrong or different or bad about, you can actually get rid of onto the making of art. Do you believe that your paintings inspired by that will lead us to Mehmet, but because of exorcism and the power of
Yeah,
you know, beyond the simple appearance
yeah,
of things. There's a hidden image.
yeah. So we came to all this talk starting with the name of the painting. So after he hid the painting for all those years, in 1916, 9 years later, they decided to show it in an exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Rue d'Antin in a gallery, and he was very, in a way, enthusiastic but scared. But the painting sold, started going to public side from that moment on. Never forget that in those days there was no iPhone. You could not take the photos of paintings you like and send it to your friend in Casablanca or New York. And it didn't happen. The photo of Les Demoiselles d'Avignon was published years later for the first time in the review Architectural Record, and then it was published later in La Révolution surréaliste of André Breton. And these were big, important moments. You could not carry. A photography was something magic. You didn't have much photos in the newspapers. You didn't have magazines with photos. This photographic revolution was not there. Photo had been invented, yes. It had been around since 1830 maybe, but it was not in your daily life. It was exceptional. Mm-hmm. You would have your grandfather's photo enlarged, which was a family investment. But so don't think that Picasso did this painting and tomorrow everybody had it in his hand and they could comment on it. No, it was a legend from mouth to ear that, oh, he did something crazy. He's crazy himself, you know, like this is unacceptable. This is unbelievable. So everybody kept saying, what is this, you know? So the notorious legend of the painting was always in front of Picasso even, you know, that painting became something almost independent from him.
The mythology,
Yeah.
No, surely.
And when a French designer, tailor designer, Jacques Doucet here, decided to buy the painting, it's André Breton who convinced him to buy. He insisted a lot. He said, this is an important piece, this is art historical, it's disturbing everybody because it's a different new world, new page. You know, he did, actually André Breton said all the right words when we think about it in retrospect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a very important part of how perception and representation acts or confront. And because of your fascination for the demoiselle and what we understand people at the time were sort of realizing, taking conscience of or shaping a conscience of what was new. Is that for the same reason that you got interested in other big artworks in the remakes and the real fakes? Just to step out from the demoiselle for a moment, because big artwork tend to do that, tend to say, this is after me nothing. So for you, for an artist, being confronted to the demoiselle or to other big paintings that you have reproduced, or not yet reproduced actually, it has nothing to do with reproduction, but with confronting yourself with your own art by recognizing the power of painting. But so how come my own expression can shape what I want to show, what I want to say, what I have lived through? This is it's very important to understand your relationship, that transfer between you and those. But remakes and real effects are quite different from the Demoiselle. But yeah, it would be interesting to tell us.
I mean, actually, Hassan Bülent also pointed that out in a part of his article that made me realize that. Let's say that a painting like the Raft of the Medusa of Jericho at the Louvre, when I go in front of it, I like to spend a couple hours in front of it, which makes me realize that I haven't been to the Louvre in a while. You know, Delacroix's Liberty Guiding the People, or, you know, some paintings by David and some other masters, Rubens, etc. I like to do those compositions in my style because I feel they fulfill me, they feed me. But here, with none of them, or with modern masters like Balthus or Edward Hopper, or to a certain extent Van Gogh, you know, Van Gogh. When I think about those things, no other artist that I feel so much, I'm almost impersonificating him. Like, I feel as if we have a buddy relationship, pal relationship, friend relationship, brother relationship. So that's why I feel extremely and strangely close to Picasso, as if he was my contemporary.
Yeah, good.
As if I had been a contemporary of him in the Paris of the 1910s. 1900s, 1920s.
I think there's a film by Woody Allen actually that
Yes.
happens in Paris, I think in Montmartre, where somehow they have to go through and end up in a cabaret.
They keep
with
going.
Gauguin.
Yeah.
I think, is that Woody Allen? Yes, Woody
Yes.
Allen, yeah.
They keep
He's able
going
to
10
do
years
that.
back.
Yeah. So you've done it in your own way.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
came across the
It's
mirror.
was it called Midnight in Paris?
I think so.
Yeah, Midnight in Paris. If you haven't seen this film, please see it, Midnight in Paris.
Through the mirror.
Yes, something like that. So, anyway, talking about the Louvre, after Jacques Doucet, he accepted to sell the painting to Jacques Doucet for 25 or 30,000 francs. And okay, it was serious money, it was good money, but it was not at all astronomical. It was an expensive painting. But he accepted that because Jacques Doucet promised him that when he was gonna die, in his will, he was gonna give this painting as a gift to the Louvre. But
the Louvre wasn't ready.
the Louvre did not accept Picasso's Demoiselle d'Avignon. Actually, they didn't accept Picasso's paintings till the middle of the 20th century. So they were saying, this is bullshit. This is, he doesn't know what he's doing. You know how always mostly some historians and some critics trail always with 30 years delay, 40 years delay. It happens, as you know.
But it happens all the time. I mean, very often.
Yeah.
Too often.
Yeah.
But just as a matter of fact, let's remember that critics or historians have no vision. I mean, artists only have a vision. Like Picasso with the Demoiselle is a vision somehow. Or your relationship with him himself being like you say, I'm part of the guy, it's almost like a vision. A critic or an historian just has a point of view. So sometimes in between the two, it depends who, but so just as a matter of fact, to mention that,
All right.
to excuse them.
Okay, no problem.
So yeah. Okay. This is about the remakes and the real fakes, and the way you confront yourself to the history of art. And talking about the history of art, you have shaped that now today celebrated map. Which is very interesting too, because you're showing that somehow there is no period in the history of art. As much as Picasso was showing that he could have African art in modernity.
Yeah.
And when we read your map, which is downstairs, exhibited downstairs, some examples, you're showing that too.
Yeah. Actually, I always think that, Pablo would have been very interested in seeing this show. He also would have been very interested in looking at the map, the art history map.
As much as Mehmet.
Yeah.
The Black Band.
Yes, the Black Band map.
You tell us later about that.
Yes. And Pablo, sometimes I feel so close, as if we share the studio or as if we share the neighborhood. But anyway, he is extremely rich in his anecdotes, and I tried to make a book, as we read here, that includes not only his inspiration sources, but also his entourage surrounding anecdotes. And on one hand, we talked about La Bande à Picasso. This is Ang, the famous Odalisque of Ang, reflecting the Turkish hammam and harem of Ang and Jérôme. Here you have Gauguin. Here you have, El Greco, Cézanne. This is my cat. He never gave it back to me. This is Fernand. This is Daniel Henri Kahnweiler, who was the first. He was the first art dealer of Cubism, and about Gauguin and El Greco especially. He used to see them, and Cézanne, Gauguin, El Greco, and Cézanne. He saw them as his ancestors, as their origins, and he was very open about it. He didn't hide it. He didn't hide his love for and admiration for them. He would go to the Prado and look at El Greco's for hours and hours and
copy it,
or copy them, or he would go to in front of Gauguin works and books. At some point, probably he was a little, maybe he envied the life that Gauguin lived in the Marquesas and Tahiti Islands with all these young girls, young women, and probably he would have liked to be with him or be part of that life, but he was stuck in the life of Montmartre, which was not that bad, but
he was stuck in the history of shapes as well.
Yeah.
Maybe his fantasy took him to the Marquise, and he was happy enough to dream of far countries in his bed in the Bateau Lavoie, because what was his first obsession was to actually take on whatever he saw in Van Gogh, Gauguin, or Cézanne, or back to himself, and back to as he said, whenever a critic mentioned, "Oh, the Demoiselle is just it's about African art," and he used to answer, "Maybe it's African, but done by an Andalusian."
Yeah.
So he's always aware and of making something new out of however it comes from prehistorical time or pre-classical time.
His famous line was, bad artists copy, good artists steal.
Well, yeah, provocative enough, but that is
Yeah.
to mention that in the end, for an eye, there might not be especially periods of style, because history of art responded to that
Yeah.
before him and before the Demoiselle, and after the Demoiselle, art responded to whatever you make out of material, medium.
Yeah.
Painting was out of the frame.
Yeah.
He sort of saves painting from itself, becoming antique.
Sure.
You know.
At some point, he was so impressed by Gauguin that he painted some of his work and drawings. He would write his name as Paul Picasso.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like Paul Gauguin, he would take his first name. Then about Cézanne, Cézanne's work has a relation with Cubism because he wanted to paint all those landscapes with cylinders, cones, spheres, and he would make geometric figures within the landscape of mountains and other landscapes. But and also.
And also, excuse me, very interesting, if you may be read, but also between those three shapes, Cézanne mentioned that all the art is actually in the nuance of joining them together,
Yeah.
or disrupting them together.
Yeah.
And in the Demoiselle, there is the same, probably with life and emotion, which is very, very new, the emotional signature
Yeah.
of the Demoiselle. But you have carried all your works as well, which is very important.
You see, when you look at the Demoiselle, the original Demoiselle of Picasso, you should do a summary of which page is everything, it's here. This is on page 31. That's the original Demoiselle. This is not a sexy painting.
In the MoMA.
Yeah,
in the
at the Museum of Modern Art. So the Louvre didn't want it, but his wife sold it to a French gallery after the husband's death, and the French gallery had a branch in New York. The painting went to New York, and the Museum of Modern Art right away bought it. They bought it for about $23,000. Not today. My guess is that the insurance value of the Demoiselle would be about $1.5 billion. The insurance value, and even if you brought $1.5 billion, they wouldn't sell it. Of course not, because Picasso never went to America. He never went to the United States. His painting did, but he conquered the United States with that single painting, reflecting all the light of modernism from the central White House of modernism at the Museum of Modern Art in
Yeah.
And so when you look at these women, they're not beautiful, they're not sexy. They destroy every concept of aesthetic that the West brought with modern art as well as classical art. But actually what he did in this exhibition, normally the chair where Renaud is sitting and my chair, they stand in the middle of the gallery like this. The back sides are related together, so you could sit one person here, one person here. And in the middle, you have like a tunnel. So I say, if this is the West, and if this is the Africa, the South, the East, the Third World, Picasso, in a way, melt them together and two worlds that almost had no intersections. He created a path through which you could go, a tunnel through which you can go into Cubism and modernism. He created a new path.
And not only in terms of shapes, but in terms of symbols.
Yes, yes. He is like some of his friends said, "Oh, you became a cartoonist. Go make caricatures. Work for the newspapers. You are not a painter anymore." You know. And some others said he's going to kill himself. You cannot. Nobody took him seriously. You know. And actually, I have a theory that says, if a painting or a painter or a movement does not make people around say, "Oh, this is bullshit. Oh, this is nothing. This is crap. This is terrible. This is not art," you know. Every big art that was created made people think like this. It was the same for Jackson Pollock when he did the abstractions on the floor. It was the same for Monet, Renoir, Sisley, all the Impressionists. It was the same for the Fauves. The Fauve is Matisse, Derain, Vlaminck, Kees van Dongen. They were called the Fauves because Fauve is the wild beasts. It's like the tiger, the lion. So the critic Vauxhall, Vauxhall, when he toured that exhibition, he said, "Donatello chez les Fauves, go see what's happening with those wild beasts." This is Picasso also went to see the Fauve exhibition. The Fauves were using blue, yellow, red, without mixing with any other colors or white. They were doing very colorful, childlike paintings. And nobody could believe that, even if it's modern art, you could have wild paintings like this of bright colors with figures, landscapes. So, Picasso was angry in a way because Matisse was taking the lead. They were rivals with Matisse. With the Fauve exhibition in 1905, Matisse was becoming ahead of Picasso. So what Picasso did, he had to come up with something new. He had to invent a new vision, a new technique, a new world summary, whatever you call it. That's how come he was interested in these African masks. He went to this little city of Gossol in Pyrenees with his girlfriend Fernande. He did 300, 400 sketches of the demoiselle before actually doing it, And he knew that was the only way he could get again ahead of Matisse. And that's why Matisse was so angry when he saw the painting. He didn't say he did this to beat me. He said he did this to make me angry.
So it's a kind of a love letter to Picasso that you've been writing, but it's a love letter to Paris as well, because I can't remember who said that you're the most Parisian of the Turks and the most Turkish of the Parisians. But maybe it's probably this. You could say the same about Picasso. He was the most and Spanish of the Parisians and the most Parisians of the Spanish. So it's a love letter to Paris as well, of a certain time.
Yes.
To Paris
You see, we are in Beyoğlu. This is the Pera district of Beyoğlu. And the Pera district of Beyoğlu has, you know, of course, a relation with French culture and the old Istanbul, the end of the Ottoman Empire. And the funny thing is, in Turkey, I could not paint anywhere else than in this Pera district. For Istanbul people, I could paint only in Beyoğlu, Tarlabaşı, Cihangir, all around this area. You give me a big building in or even in Fenerbahçe, I wouldn't be able to paint. I need to feel this atmosphere, actually, which is the closest to Montmartre, right?
Yeah.
It's the closest environment to French 19th century. And my ex-studio was 250 meters, 300 meters away from here. And that studio is a 19th century building that really looks like the Parisian building. Yeah, it was our Bateau Lavoie. Who among you has seen my old studio? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The Armenian school.
Yeah, it's called, it's the Armenian school of Anarat Higutyun. Yeah, now they're making a hotel out of it, right? Yeah. They fired us 20 years ago from that building. They still could not open it. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So yeah, it's a love letter to Paris. It's a love letter to Paris and Istanbul.
Yeah.
All at the same time. Right. So tell us about Mehmet now.
Sibel, you know about that building. You should tell us. Doesn't it look like Paris?
But you know, I'm a little far from you here. Yes, of course I know the building.
Yeah, but it looks like Paris, doesn't it? Like 19th century.
It was a very old Armenian monastery, and in every different classes of the building were to be the studio of another artist. And we were on top of the building, and it was a perfect time of a period like 15, 16 years. We had so much fun, and we had the mood of Bateau Lavoie. Yes.
Yeah, true. Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah.
I shouldn't talk much. Your turn.
It's all very interesting anyway. So tell us about Mehmet.
Yes.
Because now we have
Right.
sort of we turned around
Yeah.
Demoiselle as much as the various influences, the history of the African art, the primitive art, getting into it, the discovery through the Gadget Stain and Matisse, the competition, sort of Parisian-like avant-garde, and you have imagined, or you have been nourished, or by discovery and curiosity, that Mehmet, the black pen, is offering for you a very strange kind of exquisite type of painting that you have brought into your own tribute to Picasso.
Yeah.
So this is like the two chairs together.
Yeah.
So in the tunnel that you described, you have found him at the black pen. Tell us about this.
You know, actually, Mehmet the Black Pen has interested also other Turkish artists before me. I mean, I'm talking about 20th century, 21st century artists. And he's been one of the Turkish art hinterland hidden heroes from the past. But I just realized that the way Picasso was so impressed by African art, African mask statues, if he had seen the paintings of Muhammad the Black Pen, Mehmet Siyah Kalem, or as French say, Muhammad Siyah Kalam, you know. He would have been so impressed that half of the revolution done in the demoiselle painting could have changed. The demoiselle could have been born like this, like that painting, or like this painting here, you know, or like among the four little paintings, the one on the upper right, where it says Le Radeau, you know. So I really feel that he would have been mesmerized. He would have been flabbergasted by the vision of Mehmet Siyahkalem's figures. And of course, I cannot prove it to you, because to prove it, I need to bring Pablo here so that he tells you, yes, he's right, I would have been impressed. But on the other hand, I know his brain and his life so well that I feel the authority to say, yes, he would have been impressed. I can allow myself this belief with certainty for myself at least, and it's up to you to believe it or not. I cannot force you to believe it, but I believe it very sincerely. So here you travel like in time. So I go to the 14th, 15th century to bring Muhammad the Black Pen. I go to the beginning of the 20th century with the music. Actually, the soundtrack, I did it together with some parts of it with Mehmet Kılıçer, with whom I worked like 40 years for soundtracks. And I also worked parts of it with Erdal Avcı, and like, for instance, all these voices in the harem room here. Have you all been into the harem room?
Yes.
Yeah. So all the sounds you hear there is, you know, in Serbian, in Turkish, and in French. It's girls from the harem talking between themselves and kind of trying to tease each other, or being angry with each other, or they're trying to have their share of the cake from the Sultan. But the Sultan here is Picasso. Is not your regular Ottoman emperor. Actually that painting was a hard birth between bringing together so many different worlds, and it's like an interesting remake of my own painting in the collection of Istanbul Modern. You've seen my big 10-meter painting in Istanbul Modern?
Yes.
Who has seen it? Guys, this is how you raise your hand, not like this. Come on. Who has seen it? Okay. So I advise you to go see that in the permanent collection of Istanbul Modern. It's an interesting remake of Anghan Giraud. So here you travel in time. You also go to Madame Claude. Madame Claude was the most important bordello in France, in Paris, in the 60s and 70s. You know who were the customers? John F. Kennedy, President de Gaulle, Marlon Brando, Muammar Gaddafi, Moshe Dayan, and many other actors, and needless to say, ministers and famous actors, and etc. They even say that Maria Callas was a customer. Maria Callas. Anyway, between Madame Claude and the Turkish counterpart, much more modest, Varol, this exhibition also travels to the 60s and 70s, besides the 1910s of Paris. And it also travels to 14th, 15th century, where you see all the decor in the around the Mohammed the Black Pen. Now, this is I'm really happy that people who see this exhibit, they like to spend here an hour and a half, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, and they like to come again, because with each little part of the exhibition, they feel there is something they must resolve, something they must feel, something they must take a picture and share with their friends. And this is the atmosphere I wanted to create. What do you think?
Well, I think that you actually put in perspective that art has become, or was before and after the Demoiselle, not only a question of type of genre, but a question of having different influences to meet from different time, different origins. That's what the Demoiselle has sort of was a catalysis of not just repeating a genre of history, as you said in the Louvre. There were only this type of paintings, and a painter's life would have been to sort of study and repeat that in the best way he could, and not breaking the tradition too much. Now you realize that Picasso has changed this very early in time, that painting was a question of how you live through politics, through personal life, individual life, life in a group, in the gang, competition with others, taking, for instance, all these different aspects and whereabout art intersect. The art is at the intersect of all the whatever happens, or in good or bad, or in terms of experience. So it's the way you build the scenography is like an immersive experience of how the time can reflect today, which is nice. When I sat here, because I'm born in this area, which obviously I know very well. This did exist.
Columns, yeah.
And I love them because with all these posters, it's as if you have all this open windows like now we have on iPad, but they were not in your hands at the time. They were in the street for everybody, and those values of whatever they show is part of as many influences an artist can sort of go through. And it wasn't just about an art being an academy or a school. It was about art being in life, for life. And I think that's what the Demoiselle is, the sort of change maker. I mean, Picasso is the change maker. Yeah, so that's what I've experienced in this show. Not only it's taking us like in an historiographic journey, but in terms of the purpose of art, since the Demoiselle has become another type of it's a battle, and not just responding to tradition. It's a battle against or for values. That's what I think the Demoiselle has taken into the scene.
Among the things I did, thinking about Casso, my friend, was this harem I did for him. It's a small painting surrounded with a curtain in the middle, with the old frame you see there. There I have selected 12 ladies from his life, and some of the legal marriages or women he lived with, or his escapades and some of his long escapades and sexcapades. But 12 women among hundreds, but I did my choice about the ones who left an imprint on his work. For instance, Marie-Thérèse Walter, he never got married with her, but he did so many paintings about her, as you know, that there are whole periods that you can see Picasso from the 20s, 30s. You can say directly, oh, this is Marie-Thérèse Walter, period. Or you can say this is Françoise Gillot, period. I met Françoise Gillot in Paris, in New York in 1984. We spent an afternoon at a Polish art dealer's house. It was in 1984. In those years, I did not have Pyramid. If I did have Pyramid, I would have invited her to have a show here. She was an artist who died a year and a half ago when she was 102 years old, Françoise Gillot. It's such a pity. I really miss the fact that she didn't show here. There was, Dora Maar, who impressed Picasso a lot with her interest in politics. How she kind of influenced him so that in those times he would make Guernica, which is in Madrid now, and he became member of the Communist Party, but it didn't last because the pressures of a Communist Party's regime and attitude did not fit Picasso, of course. Or Fernande, who was an important woman in his life for a long time, even after they separated. Jacqueline Roch, his final wife, maybe Geneviève Laporte, who was his last major affair just before his last wife. So anyway, I did a selection of 12. I would have been very interested in showing that to Picasso and saying, look, there I had this painting says the duello of the harems. My harem against Picasso's harem. So I would have been very interested in asking him the question on this, his harem painting, saying, what do you think about my choices?
I agree with that, and I must thank you, Bedri, because honestly, I must thank you for anybody that might feel like me or just genuinely just like that, because there are so many artists in the history of art that have been probably influenced, and certainly influenced by Picasso, amongst other works by the Demoiselle. You're the only one that has produced such a tribute.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, on behalf of Pablo.
Thank you. How do you think he would have, what would he have felt if he was in front of that show? If he had toured this show for an hour, what do you think he would tell to himself and to us?
He would probably said, oh, Bedri, nice to meet you, but how come I did never come across yourself? Your family at the Battle of War?
You were there.
Yeah, I was there,
yeah. Like, maybe looking at paintings like this, or the one on another long one on the entrance, maybe he would think as if looking at those, this is like a magnetic resonance, like an MR of his brain, of his heart, of his inner life, of his influences. maybe he would be shocked on how come somebody knows everything about his life.
Or maybe he would have said basically, now you have put me in the situation I have to organize another sort of celebration, because I've done one with Rousseau, with Rousseau, and now you're the third guy invited.
Did you want to say something?
Well, it's a beautiful show.
Thank you.
But if Picasso was here, probably he's an artist like you.
Yeah.
And like Matisse. He might have said, "Are you trying to make fun of me?"
Who knows? He could have happened. You're right. You're right. He could have. Yeah. But probably he had. Probably he even if deep inside him he thought like that, he would have received it with more humor. Yeah. Anyway, yes.
And I guess there is also a lot of love you feel to Picasso, and as if you are talking to him from future to past time.
Yeah.
And if he was here, I would say he would say that, hey, look, this guy is talking with me 100 years ahead of me.
Yeah. Yeah, he would have been quite surprised, and probably
It feels so personal.
Yeah.
You had a personal touch with him, at least you knew him.
True. This is how I feel. True. Any other comments? Okay.
No other comments.
Now, what do you think? Okay, you met Muhammad the Black Pan probably for the first time a year and a half ago when you came here, and we spent 2 weeks together because we spent 2 weeks here, something like that, or 10 days, I forgot, with Renaud. Because he was working on this book, so besides all the things he saw about me from my books and visuals, of course he needed to see the originals, and probably seeing the originals was something else.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, a work of art should be looked at in flesh.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask me, but because nowadays there are social medias and new technologies showing art the way you look at stamps, and you never know how what's the even though you have dimensions written under pictures, you never really understand how it reacts, it reflects on you. The exposure, if you are interested in art, you should be exposed to art that so much before you get to the point, you know. Right? So, and that's a question I want to ask you, Valerie, is that the Demoiselle d'Avignon and your history, and your love story with Picasso and that painting started early in books, and then eventually in the 80s you went to New York, you saw it in flesh.
Yeah.
And then, did it change? Did it evolve? Did your fascination or your repulsion evolve by the time you were 20 or 30 and 40 and 50, etc.? Because things change, the world change, we change, and the painting remains. And now, I was at the MoMA last week actually. I just happened by coincidence, I was in New York, so I wanted to see knowing I was coming here to talk about it. Anyway, I would have.
Did you tell to the Demoiselle I'm going to show about you?
I went with my eye just like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they recognized me, but the thing is, people now looking at it, or they take selfies, which is one example, or they just look at it so normally, like it's established. It's like in history, we have so much distance, you know. But at the time, and in general with contemporary art that we speaking about our days today, what's difficult is that we have so little distance. So therefore it was so difficult to believe is it good or not. It's still very difficult to realize what's a good or a bad painting. So I can understand what they felt at the time in those times. Even stronger.
Yeah. There was an alienation between this painting and everything else.
It's coming back today. But because it's the formula of looking at something such as the Demoiselle is extraordinary. Even though you compare with the avant-garde of the 60s and the 70s, it has kept something so wild, so out of the box. I mean, it's a superb painting. How come did you? I mean, how did you evolve looking at it and starting to turn and contribute in painting about it? I mean,
you see, the first time I saw it was when I was riding this bike. When I was 12 years old, 12 and a half, I did my first presentation in school about Picasso. And there I talked a lot about this painting. Then, when I went to see it in New York 45 years ago or 43 years ago, I forgot. Needless to say that it was hanging, I went there, I was looking at it, then I touched it. It was like touching history. So I wanted to feel that I touched the real thing. Of course it's forbidden, but my theory is that if you like a painting very much, you can just like touch it to caress it, you know, without harming it. And to me it was like making contact with history, with the canvas. You know, in those days, this painting, which is about 2m30, 2m40, was a very big painting in modern art. Of course that in the classical art, you had huge sizes for the palaces. But in modern art, it was more modest sizes. Like
it came out of studios where sometimes small studios, because these guys were like just.
It was
not much money.
coming from small studios, going to the houses of the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie is always a headache, you know. This is too dark, this is too big, this is too small, this is this is that. They all have reasons to complain, you know. So, you know.
So give them some good ones.
So Picasso's, size was overwhelming for people, even in Paris, who were buying modern art. And that's why they were saying, you're gonna find him hanging himself behind the big painting, you know. But otherwise, in big places, paintings were not. You had much bigger paintings at the Louvre. You had much bigger paintings in the Salon by David, by other famous artists. But
it's funny how Bedri starts to answer, and then the painting of the Demoiselle gets started part of the history of art. That's it. Yes. You bring it directly. It's great because it's joining all these different eras and periods. And you consider the Demoiselle being a sort of a central point?
You must be joking. You must be joking, no. It's as important as Fenerbahce, and they were both born in 1907. Yes, Annie, what do you want to say? Yes. What's happening in your... As you hear us, what are you thinking about everything? I'm curious.
I'm enjoying your talk. I'm really enjoying it.
Okay.
And I thought when I studied in Paris, of course, I learned all about Matisse, Cézanne, Picasso, but nothing of this interaction.
Yeah.
For me, it's new and it's very interesting.
Yeah. Thanks. Do you have questions from the assembly here? Feel free to ask questions. No question?
Can I ask you a question? About this painting, there's a black form of the lady and ancient Egyptian
Yeah.
woman, maybe like Cleopatra or others, and reflection here. The woman, I suppose, Madame Claude, you said, in the middle of the painting, black figure.
Yeah.
Yes, and I saw this kind of figures here. I'd like to ask you, what was your purpose about this black woman? Because I always look at
Got a black magic woman. It's about maybe it's about the song.
Is there a secret woman? All of the others can be seen, but there's how can I say it?
Yeah. Okay. You see, in the original Demoiselle, there's 5 ladies. Many critics, at some point, even I hesitated whether there is 5 or 6 women. Many times I had to count it, but many critics wrote articles about the 6th woman in the Demoiselle, because they kind of seem to, there seems to be 6, although there is 5. An eye doctor can analyze you why, you know, on maybe depending how they are dispersed on the canvas. Here, I made them 5, but again, I wanted them to represent kind of the 5 continents, the 5 different types of lady. You got, you know, the Egyptian, you got the African, you got on far left, you got the from the oceanic, from the Gauguin's world. The lady near is from Europe, and maybe the one in the middle is in black. It's maybe could be American, could be a place where Picasso has never been. Actually, he never went to the United States. This is a very good film to make, but I'm too young right now. I'll do it later. I'm too young. Later, when I get old, I'll do a film about Picasso coming to the United States to see the Demoiselle 40 years after he sold it in 1960s. Wouldn't it be a nice film?
Can I do Canada?
You can act, Ken Meyer. Okay. So here in the Madame Claude paintings, the ladies in their background, in their house, they don't have Picasso paintings, but they have Bedri paintings around Picasso. And except in this one, they have an abstract Bedri painting. And in those paintings, I signed on the Bedri painting on the wall, not to disturb the reality of the stage set of the painting itself. And also, the working ladies at Madame Claude, they don't want to be identified in a way. Those working ladies. So that's why they are more done as a silhouette.
Yes.
But plastically, I also like the contrast they make with the rest of the painting. suddenly black stands out in the middle of the color.
Little pop.
Yeah.
You explained Madame Claude, but I'm thinking maybe you want to explain Varol to us.
Yeah.
Because like your 4Ds, you bring different times and different countries together. And this exhibition is like, right now I'm looking a big 4D.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Does it mean you would want a 4D or
No, this exhibition looks like
a 4D?
like a 4D, a big 4D.
Big 4D, 5D.
5D. Or maybe you want to explain Varol.
Yeah. She's a naughty girl.
No, I'm not.
She's a
No,
naughty girl.
I know you.
She wants me to explain Varol so that she can hear naughty things. Okay.
Oh my God.
Varol was a much more modest counterpart of Madame Claude in near Cumhuriyet Caddesi, in front of Hilton Hotel. As you left the Hilton Hotel with your back on the Hilton Hotel in Cumhuriyet Caddesi, you are looking in front of you. There you have Konak Hotel. When you walk down that little street, down from Konak Hotel, just right in front of you, you have an old building, which used to be the place called Varol, which was another place where there was working ladies. And my uncle brought me there when I was 15. It was Mike Care Avignon. He brought me there when I was 15, then I brought my own best friends there. These are all the things she wanted you to hear.
Educational set.
Actually, this place was closed down after the military coup of 1980. Probably it was closed in 81 or 82, probably. Because at some point when I came back from the States, my friends told me, oh, it's closed. I said, okay. Anyway,
I want to say that you bring Madame Claude and Varol together in this exhibition. I just want to say that.
Bütün söylemek istediği oydu kız.
Okay, please.
she wants me to talk more, but I won't. But
Yeah, thank you.
in my autobiography, you have all these things. In my youth autobiography, for the other one, for after 1987, you must wait. But for the youth autobiography, what happened in 1972 is, of course, there. I have one question to you is, who would you want, since Picasso cannot see it, because we don't know his phone number right now in heaven.
I do. I'm joking.
We don't know, really. Do you have it?
Well, very expensive.
Who you would want this exhibition to be seen by?
I mean, anybody. I mean, all of us.
All of us.
All of us. All of us. What do you mean? Like someone comparable to an artist or?
No, I mean like, for instance, is there in your life, you could say, my first girlfriend who was so much in love with Picasso should see this, or the director of this museum should see it, or this critic should see it. It could be a friend of you, somebody you know, a writer. Like when you look at this show, who would you inform this show with, or send videos, or?
Well, my impression is that like this painting at the back here with the Picasso in the same position as one of your early paintings in the 80s, a Turkish fiddler.
This one with the Mohammed the Black Pen.
So knowing some of your paintings that you've done before and the way you reintegrate
or you go back and forward all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting, and I like this painting particularly. I think it should be in a museum. I think it's a museum-like painting.
Yeah.
And the installation, I think, I feel the harem installation is like the propulsion of, if there is a journey through time in this obviously in this exhibition, I think the motor, the propeller is there. The propeller is the harem. The propeller that helps the machinery to work is there, and I think this installation in itself alone is maybe bigger. Would be, I would talk to a curator for that. It should be in Venice Biennial.
Right.
And with the relationship, the direct relationship with the painting, which is in the Contemporary Art Museum here in Istanbul,
Yeah.
by Renzo Piano. You have your big painting, 9 meters long,
9.5.
9.5 meters long, and you've obviously used the corner again as it was exhibited historically.
Historically, in 1987, in the first Istanbul Biennial, in the Mimar Sinan Hamam, it was shown
In an angle?
in a corner,
In a corner.
yeah, in one of the entrance salons of the, you will call it salons.
The bar.
Yeah.
A bar.
Who has seen my 87?
Bar.
Who has seen my 1987 Istanbul Biennial exhibition?
İşte
We have
hamamdakini
yeah.
diyorsun. Ha, gördüm.
1, 2, 3. I thought you were raising your hand.
Yeah,
There was
I
only
can- I
1
can.
years old. And probably that's the exhibition that my close entourage envies the most for seeing, but they were very young or they didn't exist. You didn't exist then.
87.
So at least we have 3 people who've seen it? 3? Okay.
Yaşları tutmuyor.
And then I would say, and then I would add something, Bedri, for all those that have seen your show on Picasso in Paris. I would tell them to come here because 2/3 of this exhibition is new compared to the one that you've shown in Paris.
Yeah.
That was excellent. I mean, now there are only maximum 5 paintings from the Paris show, and all the rest is new to me. So
Yeah.
I would advise them to have a completion
So,
experience set.
So, for those of you who have seen both of the shows, you two, you and Sibel, of course, and Ibrahim, who has seen, other than that, my Paris show last year? Okay, it was 6, 7 persons. How do you compare those shows? Like,
Which one? This?
how do you compare this one with the Paris one?
You don't compare.
Which one you prefer?
I wouldn't compare.
Yes.
I mean, this is with the installation and with music and sound. This is completely different.
You
That was
prefer-
just a pre-show,
Yeah,
preview
preview.
of
Okay.
this show.
What do you think?
In a way. To me.
As you is saying, is there are 2 different shows because this is an immersive experience, which is talking about your friendship and about your revisiting the times and etc. And the show in Paris was more centered on the making of that mythology.
Yeah.
I mean, in your sort of like in your mind or in your inspiration set, it was more like remakes or real things, almost. Here you explain that it's not.
Yeah. Here you can be drawn in. Okay. Now, before we end, maybe you should decide if you have any other thing to say or any other question, I ask you guys if you have any other questions. If you are hesitating on asking any question, please ask it. Don't hesitate, life is short.
Yok canım, tabii ki varsa sor. I can have a question
Yeah.
to Renaud. Of course, we need to wait for the book, for your book about Bedri.
Yeah.
And I will be really curious to read through and to
Yeah.
read your...
A little louder, please.
Yeah, to read your comments and everything.
Yeah.
But looking overall, you know him pretty well by now. Where would you place him in the art world, in his style? It's a difficult question, I know.
It's funny you ask that because before I started writing about Bedri, I have known his work and we met and then we, the relationship started and we talked about art and I've seen a lot of what was published about him, etc. And it's funny you said that because he asked me the same question. But in another way. And he said, in the middle of a big discussion, and that had nothing to do with that, he said, "Oh, but Renaud, if you had just to tell me in 2 words, well, what kind of artist am I?" So in the middle of talking about wine or okay. And he wanted to know if he was a post this or a neo that or whatever, I don't know. I thought, oh, well, I said, Bedri, you know, I wouldn't put any sort of, it's a difficult question, but I want him, I have no recipe to give you in 2 words. What I know is that you are the artist that takes the Bastille. Every time you see a Bastille, you take it.
French Revolution.
Any type of whatever.
Something to conquer. Give me something to conquer.
Something to conquer for right, for the fight of values, of freedom, of to be able to feel alive and evolve. The Bastille, you know, can be something metaphoric or symbolic. So and then he said, "Oh, that's good. Okay, I take that."
You like that?
Sibel, do you have any questions?
No, I'm listening.
You, editor of the book, Öykü, no? You,
You mentioned that Mehmet the Black.
Mohammed the Black
sorry,
Man.
Picasso would be amazed by his works.
Yeah.
We mostly talked about his thoughts or feelings about him, but I wonder how his works would make you feel at the time you first saw them. Like why it was so special to you that you decided to give a huge part of his work in your recent exhibition.
I mean, when you look at, let's say, Turkish miniatures in general, you know, abstract ones or figurative work from older centuries, they all look alike in a way. You know, they are very look-alike. Here you encounter something which is not decorative, something that is striking, something that is very personal, something that is scary, something that comes like as a wave, you know, as it's bursting, with something dangerous, something, as I said, fearful. That was the main difference. And they could look as magic or as scary as African statues, and the morbid way they can look at you and everything. And
Kabbalistic.
what?
Kabbalistic.
Yeah, you could say. And of course, there's something shamanistic.
Or shamanistic.
Shamanistic.
That's a word.
And they were really differentiating themselves from the rest of all the other works done in this geography. You know, very much so. And I had first seen his works in the exhibition The Turks in London 15 years ago.
15 years ago. More than.
More than?
20 years ago.
Really?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
I was in London.
Right.
also.
So, with your permission, unless you burst out with something, I'm going to end this meeting with, I dedicated this book, and probably this book, and to a certain extent this exhibition, to my grandmother Nesibe, who raised Hülya and myself, and Bacı, who only my sister would know here.
Caretaker.
A caretaker who was very caring, affectionate, helpful, alongside my own family who raised me in Ankara in the first years of my life. So Hülya also shared their affection as well.
Wow.
Probably you understand well this feeling of warmth they convey in us. And to all the struggling artists, I dedicate that, who couldn't make it, who lost their bet. Because, and I'm going to end with the example of Casagemas. Casagemas was the artist with whom Picasso took the trip to Paris in 1900. He convinced his father, because he had a small painting at the Spanish pavilion in the International Art Fair, and his father let him go because he was not alone. He was with Casagemas and Manuel Palares, who would join them, and they started living with those three girls, Germaine, Odette, Antoinette. And Casagemas fell in love with this girl. By the way, Picasso was doing his trips back and forth to Paris and Barcelona with this orange kind of looking bag that you see at the entrance. Anybody who tells me the opposite has to show me the proof. Unless you show me the proof of something against that, I tell you that was Picasso's bag. And anyway, Casagemas was in love with Germaine, but it didn't work. Their electricity did not coincide on the girl's side. And at some moment when Picasso was in Barcelona, he said, I'm also going back to Barcelona, but I'm inviting you guys to a dinner. There was Apollinaire, I think there was Apollinaire, there was two collectors, one friend, and they made a dinner at a restaurant. Casagemas took out his gun, he fired at the girl, but he missed the girl, and he fired himself, and he died a few hours later. And the girl remained alive. She was more than shocked, and Picasso couldn't believe his eyes when he heard the news. He came back, and for some time he made Germaine become one of his temporary girlfriends.
To soothe her.
To soothe her, exactly. But, for instance, Casagemas, he did very important paintings about Casagemas in his blue period. The burial of Casagemas and Casagemas in his deathbed.
Oh, yeah.
And
with the candle.
Yeah. And so Casagemas could have become an artist as important as Picasso, theoretically. Why not?
Well, okay.
To a certain extent, we don't know. He could have become another important artist. He could have become a rival to Derain, or he could have become a sort of Picabia. We don't know. But unfortunately, life stopped early for him. Or worse than that, this is a very hard profession. Among 100 dentists, 100 of them will earn money from being a dentist.
They don't cut their ears.
But from becoming a painter, 100 people who have been given a diploma as a painter from universities, they don't become painters. This is, maybe 2 of them become painters out of 100 who end up from the school. In the next, after 25 years, how many of them are still painting? It's a very hard
Oh,
job.
nowadays, I mean, the turnover is even faster.
Yeah. So, I dedicate also this exhibition for you to feel all the artists who tried hard, and maybe they were good artists, but they couldn't make it. That depends on the, I'm sorry, fucking market, depends on museums.
That's one question I avoid asking you actually.
Okay, and so the society has to respect not just successful artists, but all of them. One person or 2 person wins the race in Olympics, but the important is to compete, and the important is all of them who run. That's the most important thing, more even than the ones who win. Who wins? Good. You had a question? No. Thank you very much for coming. And for those of you who want, I will be downstairs doing raw photography, signatures of the book. For those who want to see it or look at it. It's probably one of Pyramid's best publications. Thanks again to my team for doing such a great book.